After an absolutely insane day of hockey, the semifinals are set. Canada, they win in a thriller, defeating 6 players after nearly causing 40 million hearts to stop beating. Slovakia keeps their miracle run going with an impressive win over Germany. Finland, they survive a scare of their own, leaving it real late to come alive in advance. And Sweden, they take U.S. to overtime. But it was Quinn Hughes who called game. And we're about to call this Bardown podcast. But before we get anywhere, let's just applaud the day of hockey we just saw.
What an incredible day.
Great day
of hockey.
Great day.
From start to finish, just consistently, that is probably the best day of hockey of our lifetime. Like, I know Lucas had the pleasure of watching his team win a Stanley Cup, and we all saw the golden goal. And those were incredible single games and moments. But you talk about consistent, every game just being amazing.
Yeah.
Today, I mean, even the early game, obviously, between Slovakia and Germany wasn't as good, but
Still,
I mean,
At least
still,
Slovakia is a great story.
Slovakia is a great story, and then those next 3 games were just like, oh my
bangers.
goodness.
Only bangers. That was all today. But, I mean, yeah, like I think you were saying at some point when we were discussing it out there, but people were kind of down on the preliminary rounds there. They were kind of saying, where's the intensity that we saw in this like exhibition 4 nations? But we've all kind of discussed as well, it takes getting narrowed down to 4 teams in the medal rounds, and we clearly saw how much better it got.
Yeah, but before it even got down to the final 4 teams, we had the best hockey. So you got to think the next round is going to be incredible too. But I mean, this is why we love Olympic. This is why we love Olympic hockey. Like, it's just, we're so back.
We are absolutely so back, and we're going to start with Canada. We're going to start with Canada because that game was getting real sketchy. You guys were on here doing a live stream. I was sitting out there with our boss DK, and he was unraveling. He was dying in front of me, just going like,
should have tossed him on the stream.
Honestly, yeah. I couldn't say like I felt his exact sentiment because there was part of me that was just like, we'll be fine. And then that totally evaporated with 5 minutes left where I'm like, okay, man, like, can we stop kidding around here?
Yeah.
But,
That's what it felt like.
where do you guys even want to start with this one? I got a few points here, but you lived it in this room. What was like one of the big takeaways that perhaps like, with the wisdom of having gone 3-4 hours away from the game, what have you been left thinking about?
If you guys don't mind, I'm gonna say that the number one word for me that comes to mind is probably resiliency from Canada. I mean, you look, they lose their captain, Sidney Crosby, which is, of all people, it's like that is such a tough loss. Your leader, the person who everyone clearly looks up to on the team, they were down in that game. It was looking like they were going to lose that game. Like, I think everyone was pretty nervous.
It felt legit that could happen.
Yeah, we're thinking like this game's done. And then Nick Suzuki with just one of the better shifts you'll ever see in your life. Just an incredible, even after missing that open net earlier, an incredible forecheck on that play. And then to get in position to make that tip was unbelievable. And then obviously Marner with the backhand was just an incredible play. And it's just so nuts because during the game you're thinking, if Canada doesn't score here, Doug Armstrong and that staff is going to get absolutely ripped apart. You're going to start having conversations about they didn't bring the right people. They left too much offense at home. But now they're in a position where they very well could go to the gold medal game and win it all. And then we're going to be looking at the staff potentially as like, these guys are geniuses. So that's just what Best on Best is all about. And these tournaments are all about. And that was just a completely nuts game. That was one of the craziest games ever.
I think there was like 6 different points of the day where like we were talking about something completely different. I think Arsenal crumbling was one of them.
Stop.
That was a big talking point.
We're not talking about
this. But then it was just the silence we cut with Jesse being like, that Canada game was insane. You just kept repeating it. Like a kid on Christmas, like, I got the N64. Yeah. I have one now.
Yeah.
It's in front of me. I have an N64.
Yeah. Yeah.
You couldn't believe it. But on the actual game itself, I'm going to go to you about Nick Suzuki here for a second because that's your boy. That's your guy. I guess it's kind of your guy when you broke that trade not broke a trade. I forget what you did. I think you disappointed him on trade.
Right here.
Yeah. Either way, a lot was kind of said about him as far as like maybe him not having the best start to the tournament, not being quite as visible and as great as people would have necessarily expected. But like, as Jesse had already pointed out, that last shift that, on the game-tying goal, he proves exactly why he's so useful for Canada and why it's so important to have these secondary figures, which it seems crazy to call him a secondary figure, but when you're on this team, you need those guys, and they're just as important.
Like, this is a captain of the Montreal Canadiens we're talking about, and you want to talk about adversity and pressure and people maybe speaking about you in a negative way. A lot of people wanted him out of the lineup going into this game. I did say from the beginning, I don't think he should be playing on the wing. I don't think he's effective there. He's not the fastest skater. Playing with Nathan McKinnon seems like their play styles. One is like a bull in a china shop. The other is very poised and graceful and relies more on his IQ than more raw athleticism and physicality. So I kind of thought that was a weird pair. Crosby goes down. Team loses their captain. Shell shock kind of everywhere, although I do think Canada responded very well to that. But since Crosby went down, Nick Suzuki moves to center, goes out every third shift. He's playing with Marner and Stone, and it gets even worse because he misses a wide open net, hits the post. Like, how is that possible? And I'm sitting here on the stream, head in my hands, thinking this poor kid is going to get absolutely just roasted if it ends like this, where they needed a goal and he had the clear-cut scoring chance of the day, and he didn't score. And for him to respond like that, and for him to be in situations where he's killing penalties, it's late in the game, he's taking the face-off in the defensive zone. I thought not only the goal, the shift as well, you already talked about it, but his well-rounded, 200-foot game, maybe a little less on this Italian ice.
198,
give or take.
196, I think.
196.
It's a 196-foot game.
Shave a couple inches.
I thought he was great, and as a Canadians fan, obviously, proud to watch him bounce back and respond and prove a lot of people wrong. But as a Canadian, to see him kind of, take on some extra responsibility, playing center, Crosby down, it was great to see.
Obviously, as important as McDavid has been and all of the stars of this Canadian team, really was a game that in the end, it was all the other guys who really got it done. With Marner, who you've been championing him for long enough. You're a part of his fan club. And
yeah.
That's why no one connected to them wants to attack you. You're good with them. But you earned this day in the spotlight as a big fan of his because, as far as Canada's concerned, and just like Mark Stone said, as far as he's ever seen when he's been his teammate for Canada, dude's been clutch. What a game for him. What a game winner.
It's a Toronto thing, as Mark Stone said.
Yeah. For Canada, you
For
said.
Canada.
Yes.
It was great to see him have that moment for sure, and we were kind of talking about who was going to go out with who in overtime, and we said Celebrini and Marner are probably the next two guys you throw out after McDavid and McKinnon, and sure enough, they throw him out, and he has these moments where he is magical with the puck on his stick. He can shield it so well, his stick handling. To avoid all of the traffic in that moment, three guys, literally walking through three guys, and then the patience to not just try and put that backhander on net when the defensive stick is right there, to outweight that stick, pull Dostal out of his net a little more to go far side. It was just a magnificent goal. But you mentioned it the depth. Before the Suzuki moment, I think we were all in here being the depth is kind of sinking them right now because outside of the McDavid and the McKinnon and Celebrini line, they really didn't get much from anyone else. And it felt like the only line that was producing anything else was Horvat, Jarvis, and Hagel, which they kind of put together on the fly here. So I think for Canada going forward, getting more from Marner, from Suzuki, now that maybe they have more of a consistency with the lines they might want to look at if Crosby is out, maybe this is something they can tap into a little more, but I think that depth is still a bit of a question. It was nice to see them in those moments, but if Nate just scores on a breakaway, I think we're, like you said, Jesse, we're all talking about where's the depth? It's the players you left at home that probably provided more of an offensive punch because it felt like when they shortened the bench, they shortened it to 3 or 4 guys not even touching the ice in the third. And I know that's probably natural in those games anyway, but I feel like you want more options and more creativity to throw around in those moments rather than just being all right, McDavid, Celebrini, McKinnon, your turn again. Do something for us here. Yeah. And these tournaments often are decided by, I feel depth players in those moments. So it was nice to see it come through, but I think that's going to be something to watch going forward.
Whether it be a win or loss, I know we were already joking that if they had lost, there'd be some kind of referendum or summit on how things are going in Canadian hockey because that's just how high the stakes are every single time we step into an international tournament. I'm going to have us have a little referendum of our own here because it is on Jordan Bennington, and I just want to hear what you guys think because my personal opinion, I thought he did a great job today, and I actually do feel fine with him in there. And I think that's your guy moving forward personally, but I'd love to hear what you guys think. I know, obviously, he let a couple in, but I don't think those were his fault for the most part, and I actually think he was so solid, obviously, on the massive stops in the third period and on the OT, and you could say that's cherry picking, but in a tournament, those are exactly the moments where you want someone like that.
Yeah, I mean, when he had to be huge in the game, he came up very big, and that's just what we have become accustomed to seeing from Jordan Bennington in these do or die moments for Canada. We saw it in Four Nations. We saw it today. He made a massive save in overtime. I think this time it might be a little different because you have a really great option in Logan Thompson if you do want to start him. And I know, there's going to be whispers about like, well, Thompson looked pretty good in his game. Bennington maybe has looked a little shaky, but at the same time, he did what he had to do in those moments where there was so much pressure. And I just think that like even if some people might have their opinion that like maybe they would want to play Thompson, but I don't think that Cooper will go away from Bennington. I think we kind of discussed that earlier. Yeah. That like I just don't see him losing the crease.
I think there's no chance, especially the first 2 goals today. I think it's pretty hard to fault the goalie. Maybe in the first one he was a little too eager to slide one way and he was kind of heading towards the corner. But even then, it's just so cherry picking and just putting him under a microscope to criticize him. And then on the third goal, you're going up against Pasternak, Natchez, Hurdle, and Andre Palat. So Czechia was the first team. They've invented a new formation in hockey, the 1-4, 4 forwards.
I like how no one noticed it until after.
We certainly did.
No, for sure.
6 guys in the celebration huddle. Like, okay, we can joke now. Hindsight's 2020. If Canada lost, this would have been this crazy thing. It's so funny.
It's hilarious.
This is hilarious.
If they had lost,
that
would have been
iconic
a
photo.
Nightmare for the Olympics.
Photo. Imagine that's the photo that's used on the graphics for everything. It's all 6 of them.
6 guys in the huddle celebrating.
It would have been the biggest nightmare of all time.
There's a generation.
Czechia won.
There's a generation of Czechia fans who would have had hoodies with that photo.
Oh, for sure.
6 people.
Oh yeah.
That would have been on a postage stamp, just like
and people that didn't watch the game would be like, why did Czechia pull their goalie?
Why did they 2-2 game?
And it worked.
Goal differential?
Yeah. What happened?
The only thing I'll say about Bennington, I agree with you guys, and like I've been very critical of him, I think, and rightly so. I think there's no way you go away from him in this moment. I think he was good today. I don't think like he was outstanding, like spectacular. I don't think he was very bad either. I think the first goal is maybe the one you want back. I was talking to you about it though. I feel like he does create more problems for himself in the crease than he mitigates with some of the rebound control, some of the oversliding, and some of the aggressiveness that, as a fan watching, like it always gives me pause with him, where it's like he's either coming out to make a play, he's very aggressive, he's oversliding, there's a rebound that's like, cover the puck up, or why are you putting it in harm's way again? So it does feel like he puts himself in these positions sometimes. He came up in big moments, but I still think that's a part of his game that you're going to have to live with. It didn't cost them today, but that could be something that cost them in these one-game playoff-like scenarios that is something to watch going forward.
Nah, that's electric. I love it. It just keeps it on the edge of your seat.
It hasn't cost them.
It hasn't cost them yet.
I'm kidding.
It hasn't cost them yet.
I see what you're saying, but he's come up big.
That's
so
a style of play.
Credit where credit is due.
Absolutely.
And if you're a neutral, you absolutely love seeing that guy in there. Makes it exciting. But, on a different gear and a different note, obviously Crosby's injury, as of when we're recording this, we don't know what's happened and what the diagnosis of his injury has been. But either way, just to see him leaving the ice during that, because he's a guy who, if he could have continued playing, would have still been in there. So it was severe enough, and just it's terrible because like aside from it being the captain, it's like this has been the face of hockey in this country for so long, and as much as you want to win for all the guys who were there, so they're a part of this new experience. I'm sure a lot of fans, and you guys would probably echo the same sentiments, that if they are to go on and win, like so much of it would be a part of seeing him get another gold medal. So
of course, and John Cooper apparently said, he said actually at the second intermission, he said, we're not letting this be Sid's last game. So, I mean,
I think that quote is being like widely taken out of context. I've seen a lot of places just presented as like Cooper saying this
He'll
won't
play
be Sidney's
anyways.
last game, and I think people are taking that as like he's gonna
Yeah.
play again.
No.
And it doesn't. And you're not
like this specific game of like him leaving the game and then them losing like that. I think he was saying it
Our
as more
tournament's not done.
100%. That's how it was. I think supposed to be understood. But
and speaking of coaches, and sorry Z if you were going to get to this, but
I wasn't.
I was going to talk about the comments that Czechia's head coach made after the game.
Oh, no. No, it's a good point.
Because he went off, and you know what? In some ways, for context, he basically said that he feels as though referees are afraid to make calls against Canada, and he said that he felt like, he said the Doughty hit on Pasternak should have been called, which I actually agree with. He got him high, and if you look at Pasternak's mouth, actually was bleeding. If you actually watch the Marty Nature's breakaway again, he was clearly he was like slashing his hands a little, and then he got slashed on his shin pads. Clearly, like that should have been a penalty
for sure.
And then he said, "Oh well, I felt like we were playing against 6 players." I guess in reference to the ref,
unfortunate.
You literally were playing with 8 players on the ice at one point. For
sure. So they had a 2-man advantage.
It's like it's all give and take. I think and then he also said, which I found interesting, is that the NHL refs refereeing with the European refs is not working. Them reffing together, and I found that to be interesting because they do call different styles of games.
They do, of course.
And
I think, I mean, there's so many like sliding door moments like that though, where Crosby, the interference, Palat hits him, no call, and then he gets hurt right after that. You call that, maybe Crosby's healthy, still playing. Like you'll never know, obviously, but I think there are many moments that like if John Cooper wanted to come out and be like, the Celebrini call was soft and the interference penalty that led to the Pasta goal, and then you don't call that interference penalty against Czechia on Crosby, which was probably more blatant. Yeah. So I think like if you're going to be looking to it evens out, and at the end of the day, it was an overtime game that was decided by the players, in my opinion. So.
I'm just more all in favor if John Cooper brought his jacket back and his cigar back from the Stadium Series, and he did every single post game, like he walked through that media zone where they all have to. And he started everything with puffing the cigar once. Let me tell you something.
Maybe if they win gold.
I love when you puff it like a few times before you speak. It makes it more baller.
Just say 6 words and then leave to the next interview. Just do that 12 times in a row.
And then he hasn't told anyone anything.
No, he hasn't told. He's like, this guy, he keeps saying, I'll tell you something. He hasn't said a word.
He's just puffing on his cigar.
He's just giving me cancer. Anyway, all right. So, USA. All the way, at least partly all the way there.
They're close.
They're now into the semifinals where they've almost done theirs in reverse, where they're facing Slovakia. Not to look past them, but, as far as quality of opponent, like they faced Sweden, and that game was as close as it gets. It was 1-0 for the majority of it. Almost just seemed like, Sweden just wasn't going to score because the U.S. is just so stacked on defense, but Hellebuck has just been locked in.
Vesna form.
Unreal.
He's in Vesna
playoff
form right now.
But
no, he's not. He's in Vesna form. He's in regular season Vesna form right now.
Playoff form for the final.
Shouldn't a Vesna goalie be good in the playoffs?
Okay. Well, before we get to any of that, what did you...
Don't you guys not have very good goaltending this year in Montreal? Isn't that your problem right now?
Rage baited.
You got him apparently.
Don't worry, we'll get to Arsenal later.
We're not talking about Arsenal.
You're having a great day, hey, Rock.
Just give him the Arsenal
with your club.
Yeah. What's the score in the Finland game and the Arsenal game? What did those two ones have in common?
Similar. Very similar.
Similar.
Collapsed.
So talk about hockey here. Thanks.
But it was Quinn Hughes who gets the winner. Unreal shot. And it just kind of felt like it was coming either way. But what did you make of the USA in that one? Because it was tight, but in a way it just felt, I don't want to say inevitable because it clearly was a close game, but it's still, even with the low scoring, felt like the U.S. kind of just being comfortably in the driver's seat for almost all of it.
I honestly thought that game was kind of how I imagined it was going to be. Not that high scoring, tight. Wasn't surprised at all that it went to overtime. Markstrom had been playing well. Hellebuck's been playing really well. And my takeaway is probably that, I mean, if it wasn't obvious enough already, Quinn Hughes is the best American player in the world. Like, that's my opinion. I think the next guy would be Eichel. But Quinn Hughes is, Werenski's right there too, but I think Quinn Hughes is absolutely the guy on that squad. And, they were great. I mean, the fact that they're, and this is no disrespect to Slovakia, and they've been playing great, and you never know what's going to happen in these kinds of tournaments, but I don't think anyone would have seen the semifinal matchup for the U.S. being against Slovakia. I mean, it's pretty crazy to think about. But I don't know. Another takeaway I have is kind of just Austin Matthews. I thought looked really good last game. I think he's been a little inconsistent in this tournament, and I don't think he's necessarily stood out. Like last game, he stood out as the U.S.'s best player, but I didn't think he was great today. So I'm kind of just curious as to what Austin Matthews are we going to see in the next 2 games for him in the tournament.
If you guys are Sweden in this one, we'll go back to the U.S. as well. But, and again, like, I kind of described as the USL just like comfortably being in this. It's more or less that it was quite even, and I don't know, it's an emotional thing. I just didn't really feel like Sweden was ever going to win it. No. But at the same time, I don't think you necessarily would leave that tournament being completely disappointed because the U.S. had a stacked team. They played their game, and they kind of just beat you in a low-scoring affair. But now that their tournament is over, if you're a Swedish fan, what would you make of how they did?
I think they left a little bit of meat on the bone still. Like, it's unfortunate how they went into the tournament because they lost, you can argue, their best player, one of their best players, in Leo Carlson to injury. And the injuries didn't end there. Like, there was a big laundry list full of guys who were either banged up going into the tournament or had to miss the tournament because they were banged up. Victor Hedman didn't play much today. But I still feel like they didn't necessarily fulfill their potential, and there were a lot of weird head-scratching decisions in terms of how the roster was managed. Philip Forsberg playing a minute in the first game, and then Jesper Bratt being scratched, and then him like not playing much in the second game.
They getting maximum minutes in overtime.
Yeah.
We all getting literally 0 seconds of ice time in the first game.
It was just kind of like a weird tournament for Sweden. I think a country that a lot of people saw as like potential gold medal contenders. Not that their showing was like embarrassing. Like, they looked good, and they did, like today, they gave the States a really good game, but they never really were convincing enough where you watched them and you said, yeah, this team can win a gold medal. And I think that's what's the disappointing part for Sweden.
Yeah, I think if you're Czechia as well as Sweden, it's a reminder of how important those first 3 games are for seeding in this purpose, because we talked about it. Like, Finland drawing Switzerland in their quarterfinal matchup is a dream. Slovakia drawing Germany in their quarterfinal matchup is a dream. And for those 4 teams specifically, like, they all had better showings than Czechia and Sweden, who had to face the 2 best teams in the tournament. So I think you'll be left disappointed that Sweden and Czechia didn't play their best hockey necessarily until it was too late and your results couldn't determine who you faced. You were kind of locked into playing the 2 best teams in the tournament, and now you have to have your best game in order to just kind of be competitive in it, let alone win it. You need a super effort to beat Canada and USA in any tournament internationally. So I think that's where you'd be disappointed. I think with USA, though, like you mentioned it, they're so stacked on defense, and they kind of just parked the bus in the third, and it, I guess, bit them a little bit, but they are probably the best defensive team left in the tournament, I would say. Like, we talked about it on our preview. We'd take their D-core over anybody. And I think it's miles ahead of anyone left in the tournament. So they possess something that is so dangerous in these tournaments, where it's like you have a Vezina winner, but you also have a defensive identity that is so great at suppressing chances, especially in those high danger areas, that it's going to be tough for Slovakia to do anything. In the final, in a 1-game scenario, that's a massive strength.
One of the only downsides of this tournament is you don't get to spend a ton of time with all of these like crazy stacked teams because there's only a few games. But in that limited amount of time, you do end up learning a lot about these teams. Is there anything you think you actually learned about the USA today in their win, or do you feel like it was just the strengths I knew?
I think that the USA feels very comfortable with Connor Hellebuck in net right now, and I think they know that they're a team that can limit their opponents to not many goals. And it's going to be very interesting if they end up playing in Canada in the final. Like, again, I could see that being another low-scoring game, right? Like, we saw it happen. What was the score in the Four Nations? Wasn't it
3-2?
Was it 3-2?
Yeah.
Like, they shut it down defensively. And
that was without Hughes and McAvoy.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're in control, man.
And McAvoy was like crushing guys today, and again, like Quinn Hughes, in my opinion, clearly the best player. One thing I will say though, and I kind of referenced it earlier, kind of want to see a little more from Matthews here. Like, we're seeing other players on other teams like show that they are clearly one of the best players in the world. I think Matthews has done that in this tournament, but consistently, can he do it the rest of the tournament? I'm curious.
I don't want to make the whole Slovakia section simply about how they match up against the U.S., but like it is the most interesting part of their storyline right now, and the fact that they're making this, which sounds crazy, a miracle run, because Slovakia actually does have like a pretty proud Olympic history. They're a team that's produced a lot of players, and then they had a dry spell for a number of years where they thought that their golden generations were just far past them, and now Slavkovsky's helped launch a new one. But genuinely, if we're being real here, what do you think is going to happen in their game against the U.S.? I'm not going to say score line, but just predict how it'll go.
It's tough.
I mean, we just finished talking about how impressive the States' core is on the back end and their goaltending and their defense.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I think Slovakia has done really well throughout the tournament and their strengths is they're playing with a lot of speed. They're physical. And I think that, listen, they're not walking into this game as favorites. No one's going to give them a chance to win this game. And also, the expectations are just very different for the two nations heading into this tournament. A chance at a medal for a country with 5 million people like Slovakia is a huge accomplishment. It's something to be proud of. And I think regardless how they end, these players are going to be viewed as national heroes. Whereas the States, it's almost like gold or bust, or you're at least got to be expected to be playing Canada and give them a good run in that game. But Slovakia, they've continued to prove people wrong throughout this tournament. And the one thing I want to say about Juraj Slavkovsky, he's been kind of this token player that the nations had their hopes for the last 5-6 years since he was 16 years old. Yep. He was so impressive 4 years ago at the last Olympics before he was even drafted to the NHL. There's this narrative of like Olympic Slavkovsky. This is just who he is as a player. It is. He's got a point per game, and it's like
I like how it's just like he's getting praised left, right, and center now, where people are like, "Man, on the big stage is great." Thomas looked down the gun and went, "It ain't enough. I gotta let you know."
No, I'm not saying it's not enough. This is how he is in the NHL. Like, this is how he's been playing the last 40 games as the have.
I meant his
at a point per
praise.
game,
The praise wasn't enough, is what I meant.
It's not some like blip where it's like only when the stakes are high he's good.
Yeah.
He's 21 years old. Look what he's achieved already on an international stage at an NHL level.
You deserve your flowers.
There's going to be many, many more years where he has Slovakia competing for medals at the
Dude
Olympics.
could play in 5 Olympics.
And it's not just him.
It's not
It's not just Slovakia.
I know who he's going to talk about. Olympics
but
all-time leading scorer.
Dalibor Dvorsky became the all-time leading most points by a rookie in an Olympics since the NHL started competing in the Olympics with 6. This kid's been unbelievable. He's been great on the power play. He's got an incredible shot, Dvorsky, and what a tournament he's having. I think Simon Nemec has looked really good. Yeah. Like, he has looked like a stud. Chernak looks good. They've got some depth on this team for sure, but I think the United States has allowed 6 goals in 4 games. Like, they're just not allowing a lot of goals, and I think it's going to be the same case when they play against Slovakia.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we won't crush any hopes or anything like that because you got to play the game. You got to play the game. We'll see how it goes, and we'll be cheering for a good one in that one. Not to cherry pick you, Thomas, but I'm about to cherry pick. You said country of 5 million people. I always find that funny when people say it because Finland, also a country of 5 million people.
I learned that I think at the opening ceremonies.
And Norway,
who
dominates the Olympics.
Yeah, they do.
They're not.
It's still impressive.
Not hockey,
it is still
but
impressive when you weigh it up against 40 million people in Canada and the hundreds of millions in the United States.
I had my cherry picking routine.
Yeah.
I don't want to not talk about the Slovakia-Germany game either. It's because it's like pretty even as far as you would have looked at these two teams, not at the outlook of the tournament, because I think people were expecting way more from Germany before a puck dropped on the entire actual tournament itself. But really disappointing way of going out. I don't know about you guys, and I understand that Slovakia had a lot of momentum, but they got a lot of top talent. Like, you literally have one of the best players in the world. You got NHL goaltending, and you got plenty of other experienced NHLers, and also a team of players who play world championships together. And to kind of go out the way that they did, and you got to be pretty pissed off if you're a Germany fan, no?
Especially because you drew, like, outside of Switzerland maybe, that you drew the most favorable matchup for you to have a chance to play for a medal, which is probably the most disappointing part of it. I think the reliance, obviously, on the big guys too much cost them in the end. Like, we were talking about Draisaitl, of how much he played, and then to play a back-to-back and still have to play him those big minutes to generate anything and feel like you're a goal behind because you've got these stars. Like, I think their reliance on those guys really cost them in the end, but it's hard not to rely on them because they have been your entire team. Like, they account for the majority of your goals. So it is disappointing. I truthfully feel like I know they had Draisaitl and Seider and Stützle, but after them 3, it really is nothing. And so I feel like the expectations going into this one, I probably had higher hopes for Slovakia than I did Germany in that sense, just because they're more of a well-rounded team. And, like, I know you said NHL goaltending, but Grubauer really I don't know what.
Technically speaking.
Technically speaking, you're not wrong. Italy technically
he
had
can be
AHL
good.
goaltending, and
Also,
He can be good.
heard
He
something
can be.
interesting today
He
on the
wasn't.
broadcast.
No, he wasn't.
Grubauer hadn't started back-to-back games, and I think they meant more in terms of like actual days.
Yeah.
Because I know it doesn't happen often, but like
No.
since 2019.
yeah, it's
So, like,
tough.
They're tired.
It
You
is
know?
tough.
Yeah, they're tired, and I think that's really a part. That's part of winning your group. That's a benefit that you get.
Absolutely.
And I think that it's actually good that the tournament organized like that. Like, hey, you're gonna have to play an extra game, and you're gonna have to play another game the day after, because that's the way this is gonna work. And lo and behold, the top 4 teams who all didn't have to play an extra game won their games today.
And 3 of them won late when you can really push
Yeah.
fatigue and I mean I know the
exactly.
States didn't come from behind, but like Finland, who I believe we're gonna get to,
That's
like
the segue.
late flurry.
You've given us the segue.
Sorry.
No, that's good. That's teamwork.
Oh, okay, appreciate it. You know,
You don't
Finland.
sound like you're that jazzed about it. It's all
All right.
good though.
Well, I didn't want to.
You're still thinking about Arsenal.
A lot of parallels between these two games.
Yes.
There it is.
Yes, there's
There's the segue.
Hey,
You guys are the worst.
more
man.
good teamwork.
Hey,
So we had 2 games here today that had 2-0.
No, why are we talking?
Laid
Why are we
on.
talking about this, man?
Then it was suddenly 2-2.
We don't need to spend any time on this.
out of nowhere.
Forever.
This is a hockey
matter
podcast.
the weather.
People want to hear about the Olympics.
These leads are our own
And
until
only
they're
one
not.
team ended up winning.
Nope. Thankfully, no overtime for Arsenal because they would have bottled that. But Finland, they just rush back. We thought they were out of here. It looked like their ticket was booked. They were about to lose to a Fiala-less Switzerland team, which played a great game up until then. And Finland, like, they are packed with talent. That's
Without
what
Barkov too.
without
Imagine that
Barkov as well. And, you know, what did you guys actually make of the actual comeback, though? Because it did feel like that's a game that they not comfortably should have won, but as we were saying, that really should have been their game, even though it was even. But the way they did it made it even kind of more spectacular.
You know what, guys? I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say, I think Switzerland deserves a little more respect.
Okay.
They had a great
They did.
tournament, and
I'm not
Fiala-
saying they weren't,
No, no.
by the way, just like they're missing a good player.
No. They're missing a good player, but like they played well the whole tournament. Like, like they had guys stepping up. Yossi was great. JJ Moser was really good. They had Siegenthaler playing well. They also had Heischer was playing pretty well. Timo Meyer was incredible throughout the whole tournament. And then you have more depth guys like. You have your Niederreiters who are like your lower, like your depth players. I feel like I'm still missing another dog as well.
I mean,
But-
either way, I mean, the points we were already making as far as like for Germany, it's also another team that has great chemistry because they also spend those world championships together, which like it matters in these tournaments. Like they play for each other and they know each other. So no, you're right. They're a good team that weren't to be walked over. Although they definitely dropped the bag a bit.
Switzerland. I'm just saying, like they actually are kind of more aligned with Slovakia to me, as in the sense that they're pretty deep. Like JJ Moser has been great this year with the Lightning. Siegenthaler's an NHL defenseman, and Roman Yossi obviously is still like it sucks about Fiala. Like that's just a key piece that like they were clearly not going to go that far without Fiala, but. I got to say, I was pretty impressed. And let's not forget that Switzerland was just in the World Championship against Czechia. What was it, like 2 years ago or last year? Like they are up and coming, the Swiss program. And like so, I wasn't really. I was kind of expecting a low scoring game with Finland today, and yeah, I mean it sucks that they blew it, obviously, but but like. They were pretty good this tournament. I was actually impressed by them.
You know what? I agree with you, but every great hockey nation also needs a great hockey jersey, and I'm going to say they took a step back in that department. That looks like some kind of spyware software. That thing. I don't like their jerseys. What's happened?
They need to get away from the logo on their flag. What's their crest? I feel like they could do something really cool
Telling
with their
it.
crest.
I like us being like, you got to get away from your flag.
For international competition.
No, but you don't
I know what
flag
you're
out.
saying.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I know what you're
It's
saying.
like, what can you do with that sign? Nothing.
Honestly,
I mean,
they
currently
they
they
still
haven't
had the
done
best
anything.
jersey in that game. At least that's what Jesse was saying when he was watching.
That's
the
not
game.
true.
no.
Jesse hates the
He's
Finland
kidding.
jersey.
Hates
No.
it.
No.
Talk
No,
is
no,
kidding.
yeah, he's
I
kidding.
love the Finland jersey. Thought you guys didn't give it enough love. Actually, we were doing these rankings.
I liked it.
Yeah, you liked it.
I liked it.
Wasn't their best.
But I really like
Spicy
Finland's
pork and
jersey.
broccoli.
What?
I don't even know what that means.
Louis Domingue, not the best.
You, Louis Domingue, or the joke wasn't the best?
No, you don't remember when he said that? Wasn't that Louis Domingue that said that? Spicy pork and broccoli, not the best?
I
don't remember.
Right.
Spicy pork and broccoli is a great combo.
You don't remember Louis Domingue?
I'm so
I remember Louis Domingue. I don't
Is he
remember that.
Swiss?
He bakes.
He's definitely
he
not
bakes
Swiss.
banana
What's
bread.
going on?
It's definitely
What's going
not
on
Swiss.
here? I don't know what this guy's talking about. Anyways,
Finland.
Yeah, Finland. Anyways, let's get to Finland. It took overtime for them to do it, but they are clearly one of the most impressive teams in this tournament. It's the team that is facing Canada next. How scared are we of Finland going into this one, guys?
You should be reasonably nervous about that, especially just seeing the effort that Czechia put in and knowing that Finland has even more game breakers, I would say, on their team, like between Rantanen and Granlund and Lehkonen and Heiskanen on the back end and Saros in net. I really do feel like this team is not one to be overlooked, despite an up and down tournament, I would say. Like, I know they poured on the goals against Latvia, was it, when they won 11-0? And Italy, sorry. That they won 11-0 to really, honestly, give themselves a much easier quarterfinal matchup. But they haven't had the most impressive tournament, I think. But I still wouldn't overlook this team and the offensive firepower that they have, even without Barkov, because between Hintz and Heiskanen and all of these guys, I think that they are more than capable. And especially what we saw from Canada defensively today. Like, I know Czechia didn't pile up the shots, but it really did feel like off the rush, they had a lot of great looks and opportunities that could have really turned the game around. And they took advantage of a couple as well. And so Finland has that high-end talent to be able to do that too.
And I think it's the way they play too, which I think could potentially frustrate Canada, just because they play a lot of responsible 195-foot hockey.
96.
Oh,
they don't play that 1 foot, and that's the difference.
That's maybe why Canada's going to walk all over them. I don't know. I think, like you said, they have a deeper team than Czechia, and they still have those high-level game breakers like Czechia had. So I expect it to be a tough game. Saros, who I feel like lately maybe has gotten a bunch of criticism, but he's
been up and down.
He's been good in the tournament.
He's
been good in the tournament, especially for like
tournament.
how he's kind of performed at the NHL the last couple seasons. I think he's performed very, very well this tournament. And of course, a guy like Mikko Rantanen and someone that you always got to be aware of. You made the Barkov point. They don't have their captain. Canada is a good chance doesn't have their captain too with Sidney Crosby.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that all plays out. But a ton of NHL experience, a ton of guys who have won at the NHL level too and know what it takes to win these big games. Again, Lehkonen, just such a
Most
clutch
player in NHL
a goal
history.
with a minute left and then gets the overtime winner today. So we'll see.
I'm gonna say it. I'm nervous about Finland for sure. They're a team, and I know it's different, but you see it at the World Juniors. Finland is a team that they sometimes start slow and then they just figure it out, and their game gets better as tournaments go on. And I feel like we're seeing something similar happening right now in the Olympics. I feel like they're finally starting to find their groove. I think they match up actually pretty well against Canada. And you're right. The thing is, like, Canada losing Crosby is pretty big.
It's
like,
big.
what are you gonna? Who takes the second line center role, like permanently? So I think that's what you gotta wonder. I think, if they have some buts, of course, but if Finland had Barkov to play against McDavid and that line, I mean, and then you have other guys.
Even with what they have, though, you can still, as you said, be pretty fearful of what's going to come.
For 100%. And Saros is playing great. And another thing we're saying, like, we're talking about defense and how both the I'm just gonna say this because I couldn't really touch on it earlier with Canada. And I know we were talking about it a bit earlier. Matthew Schaefer would have been amazing at this tournament, and I feel like his kind of game is a little bit like what Canada is missing right now, especially in the bottom part of the defensive line, like of that back end for Canada. Schaefer, an incredible skater, could have provided a lot of offense. You would have felt really good having him back there, and he didn't make it. And I think there's probably a lot of people agreeing that he probably should be there over a couple people who are there for Canada right now. I don't really think that's that hot of a take. But yeah, I feel like they could use him on their back end for sure, especially for these next two games.
Even in overtime today, we were projecting the lines and we said, okay, it's gonna be Celebrini and Marner that comes in next door, and then we're like, who's the defenseman gonna be? And they ended up going with Devin Taves. He actually changed pretty early,
and then Harley came on after.
But they just lacked that, and I like Thomas Harley a lot, but I wouldn't refer to him as this like dynamic offensive threat. And it just seems like after Makar, and I know Morrissey going down, he was their other puck mover, but it just feels like that's the void right now. The biggest void, at least on this Canada team, is more high-end offense from the blue line.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, minus Makar, we were talking about it too, like during the live stream. It feels like whenever the puck is in the zone, it's 3 forwards against 5 defending players whenever Makar and Taves aren't out there, because it goes back to Parayko, and then it's either, or Sanheim, and it's either like a fumbled play at the blue line and the puck comes out and they're regrouping, or they're putting it back in the corner, or they're shooting it into someone's legs. Like, it really does feel like the offense just ends when the puck hits their stick, and that's not what you want in their end of the ice when you're trying to attack.
I will say, to be a little hopeful, and this is definitely very narrative based and it's very emotional, but I will say the thing that we really didn't want to happen, which was being in a game against Czechia and being down in a close one with Dostal looking pretty good.
It did happen.
It happened, and they overcame it. Star players, as you just said, feeling like they're the only ones getting things done, and you're waiting for the secondary scoring to get going. That happened.
It did happen.
And they got it done. So, I don't know. They did answer a number of questions in this one. So, while you're worried, I'm all for, like, struggling up until you keep getting up there. Because, again, it's no given that they're going to make it there, neither for the U.S. that gold medal game, but...
Survive in advance.
Exactly. Survive in advance. It's good that you struggle.
Canada versus the U.S.
would be insane. Like, if that were to happen, and we're not going to get there, but, like... Open up the San Siro. Yeah. Let's go.
Man.
They're used to a good rivalry between red and blue. So
yeah, they are.
Open it up. Get an outdoor game going. I'm pretty sure the ice would melt in 5 seconds.
Hey, do it in Tampa. Why not?
Yeah. But one thing, we're in garbage time now. The show's about to end. We were about to end it, but I do want one more note. It can no longer be unsaid here. There was something I noticed that troubled me a lot today in the game.
No. 2
goalies, Finland, Switzerland. I was like, these guys look little. Wow. Shout out to the little guys who are still in it. I think I was comparing Janino. Is that his name? I was like, dude looks like Archis Urbe right now. He looks tiny. And then we looked it up, and him and Saros, who are short goalies, are 5'11", man.
Yeah, it's small for
I'm
a goalie.
heartbroken.
That's kind of small.
I know it's small now, but
that's
that's not even that short. But now in today's
not,
standards,
but, like, that's kinda
they're all
small,
like
man.
6'6", 6'4", 6'5". It didn't used to be that way when I was younger, is all I'm saying. It's the
That
new,
the
like,
golden days.
It's over. It's over.
You have
Dustin Wolf
Typical
is
United
all we
fan,
got.
reminiscing on the past.
It's a prerequisite.
You just lost, you almost lost to Wolves.
Had to squeeze that in there.
Like,
I deserved to get
go
one
watch
jab.
that on the subway.
It was 1,000 to nothing. I deserved to just get one little jab in. Yeah, just give me one.
Wow. Little goalies. Dustin Wolf, we love you, man. Was he 5'10"?
I have no idea.
Yeah, he's pretty
short.
small.
He's my height, probably.
He's the outlier.
Yeah, he's the outlier.
Dustin Tokarski, small goalie.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. You guys remember J.C. Petit, those McDonald's
Yes, I
commercials?
do. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was it? Now I can't, like a shot. What was it?
I can't remember.
I just remember. Hook check.
Yeah.
That was funny. We don't need to be here. Again, I can say that. But that Louis Domingue comment, weird as hell, but I checked it out.
Is he right?
That's a good
That's the
reference.
tap
Was
in
he?
there.
I still don't know why he brought it up, but it was like.
Because you guys said not the best. And I said, like, Louis Domingue.
Oh, okay.
Because they said, how was your meal? And he said,
we still didn't need that.
He
But
said,
it was a real
spicy
quote.
pork and broccoli, not the best.
My guy's got the best reference.
Wait,
I
how
can't believe
tall
you
is
guys
he?
don't remember that. I can't believe you guys don't remember that. That should be a quiz
Wait a
question.
second.
Only I should get it right.
Wait a second. If he's below 6 foot, your comment stands.
He's not below 6
He's
foot.
6'3". You're done.
Yeah.
Before we end it,
It's over.
We're right back here tomorrow. Canada-U.S. Women's Final. We're live streaming that as well.
Box office.
It's going to be great.
Let's go.
So join us.